So he steps in to the door. Inside, um, in the inside is like there's no hallways. It's just an open room. Have you ever entered a building that was like mid construction and it stopped? I went next to one, and it looks just like that. It's a huge room, with not really much in it. But there's something like a statue, something that looks like a statue, that is like in the middle of the room. Not a statue, like a higher place in the room, like a tiny little stage that somebody put it in there. It looks like it's the place where like people gather and talk. Now we don't know who the teacher is. We don't know if there's a teacher at all. Maybe it's just gonna be every people arranging a time and then everybody coming in at time and then trying to live with each other. I mean, they're going to generally live with each other, but they don't know what the lessons of the school is going to look like. I mean, the only thing that they know about school is the things that they learned about schools by breathing the air that other students from all around the world breathed. So, this room, he looks at it. So, you know how sometimes to decorate, um, how do I say this? So there's a wall that creates a shadow onto another wall. The lights are coming from the windows right now. There is a roof, and on top of the roof we see candles. So their lighting is going to be candles, I guess. And there's a wall in the so there's the first corner that is right next to him. The second corner that is on his. There's a corner in his left, corner in his right. He's like right. He just entered the door. He didn't step anything any other than that. So there's a corner in his left, corner in his right, two corners in front of it. So one of the corners have a shadow because one of the walls or something in front of it, there's a wall, sort of a statue that creates a shadow onto that corner. And it's a little tiny little shadow just in like the very corner. There's a kid sitting in that corner. It is shadows. I mean, the kid is trying to like sit in a position that she's like the smallest. She's like tiny. She just squished herself into a tiny little bowl, and she's sitting in the corner that is kind of shadowy. That shadow, she's crying, and she has like black hair, black long hair. It's straight. And I'm for some reason I'm imagining her with this hoodie. It's black colored hoodie, you know. She's wearing, like, most of the time she's wearing a lot of black clothing so that she knows that she's probably gonna hide in somewhere that has a shadow, right? So she wants to blend in with the shadow. So right now, because her hair is covering her face, you can only see a shadow figure of a girl sitting in the corner. So that looks weird. He doesn't really bother. He's like, right at that time, he's just thinking about himself as a tough person. He doesn't want to, he's not really saying, oh, I don't really like to have love in my life and that's a bad thing. He doesn't think that way. He's like, oh, these people are so weak and I'm so strong. That's how he thinks right now. So he looks at her. He doesn't question all of this, but he just says, pathetic, he just says that. And it looks like a place of a ruin, On the floor there are some pieces of wooden stuff, and the roof doesn't look that good in shape, the walls doesn't look that good in shape, and that's why there's a statue that randomly makes a shadow in that corner, you know. Now we already know Void is upstairs, looking outside of the window. Rose is probably outside right now. Because she didn't want to be inside with all of these people, because that kind of gets in the way of her imagination. Shadow didn't want to be outside because she's wearing full black outfit, and that's why she would probably not be able to blend in. When Sen was entering, he didn't see Rose, and Rose didn't see him either, even though Rose was at a sit. Rose was sitting on top of one of the bushes. A bush that has a lot of flowers. A bush that has a lot of flowers in it. Rose is sitting in there, and she can clearly see him, but he cannot because he is not looking up. But she should have been able to see him. But she was just too in her head, you know. Now Crow is not in the room, and Angel, the one that like fixes other people's lives and stuff, she's not in the room. And Angel, the angel that like lived her life helping people, being kind to people, but then didn't get anything in return in her life, she immediately approaches him out of nowhere. He's like looking around, and then she approaches him. She doesn't even care that his eyes are fully red, and he's like making this like very scary smile, you know. Now he wants to also act like he's super in power of everything, in charge of everything. So when the woman approaches her, and then he looks at Shadows looking at him, because Shadows is like Shadows is feeling kind of sad that she is seeing someone look so unmercifully. I mean, he's looking at her like she's pathetic, and that's making her feel bad about the way that she is, but she is just the way that she is. She's like really sad right now, and Sand has already understood that. And because of that, the moment the woman, the angel, approaches her, Angel basically asks her, "Hey, I cooked food. Do you want to eat some?" So she's going to act like the cafeteria lunch lady of the school, sort of, taking care of them too, maybe cleaning too, you know. And she says, I made food. Do you want to eat?" And he replies to her with a little kinder smile. He's like, "No thanks, I ate. What's your name?" He starts the conversation looking at Shadow, making sure that Shadow is feeling even more insecure about the way that she is, and then turns back to Angel quickly, making sure that Angel doesn't realize that he's trying to do this. But he's trying to make it obvious to her that he's trying to mess with her. Like, he's trying to make it obvious to Shadow that he's trying to mess with her, you know. And then he immediately looks at Angel, and then asks, "What's your name?" And Angel says, "My name is Angel," you know. And he said, "And where did you get the feeling that you should come to this school, you know? You look cool. You look like a normal human being." And then she's like, "Yeah, but my life has been very miserable, and I didn't deserve any of this, you know. But enough about me, you know. I mean, you do look very like your eyes are all red and stuff. Maybe I can like make a bed for you and you can sleep in it." And then he goes, where is the beds, by the way? Like, is this just the place that we're gonna be staying in because this looks like a ruin. And then she says, well, there's 3 floors. This is the first floor. The second floor is where the windows are, the classrooms are, and then the third floor is bedrooms and um, and bathrooms. You know, all the living things like kitchen and stuff. And I already went there. I already went to the upstairs, like the third floor. Um, and I already like cleaned and stuff, and I cooked in there some food. I make very good soups and stuff. You should try my soup, is what she says. And then, well, Sand hits another look to Shadows. Now, Shadows is a beautiful girl, but we haven't seen her face at all. We have not seen her face. We have only seen one eye. Like, Sand has only seen one eye of her. But Sand still had like the emotional kind, like he had enough emotional intelligence to understand that she was getting hurt by seeing him do that, because he used to be very gentle. He used to be the very gentle boy that he was. Right now, Sand, he appears as a young and a very attractive person. You know, have you ever had somebody in your classroom that was so cool and attractive, but at the same time so scary? Like you just knew that they were like they could just hurt you and wouldn't feel anything bad. You don't like you feel scared of answering them. And those kind of people, they even like try to engage with you to see if you're scared of them or not. Have you ever had that classmate? I had one. I had two, and they're like still my classmates. And yeah, well, he is like a very attractive looking, with some redness in his eyes. Well, Angel doesn't even understand that he's like she doesn't even feel that he's evil, because she doesn't really care who the person in front of her is. She just is kind to anyone, you know. So when she sees that Sand has red eyes, she is like, "Oh, you must be sleepy. Let's go upstairs." Sand walks upstairs with Angel, goes and then lays to her bed, to his bed, you know. Everything still looks like a ruin, but the bed is cool. The kitchen looks, like hygienic enough to be a kitchen, but it looks the whole area looks very old, and it probably is, you know. Now we didn't see Sky yet. I wonder where Sky might be. Well, Sky is probably very shy. I would think that, I would imagine he is with Void right now. He is with Void. He came to Void. Before going to Void, he was in the bathroom throwing up because of so much emotions. He has a lot of emotions because he cares about everybody, and he's very emotional, and that's why he went to the bathroom and threw up because of all of the emotions, and then came and then met Void. Now Void is sitting in the window, right next to the window. The window is huge. I mean, so you can just sit on the how do you say, like, on the corner of the window, and it's like you don't have any chance to fall because it's huge, so Void is just looking outside, looking at all like the little animals, the plants, the everything, and then just being like, wow, this is life. And then she's feeling amazing right now. She's like, wow, like I've never lived, I've never experienced this much things at the same time, you know. But she still has a very um, self-awareness, you know, and awareness of her environment. You know, she's very controlled. Um, Now, Sand seems to act very controlled. He walks like he knows where to step in. He likes to act and look very controlled, but he just does that to hurt other people, to make sure that other people know not to mess with him, you know. Um, like just like how he acted very controlled and very engaging, just so that he could hurt Shadow and keep her far away, keep her scared of him, you know. But Void is genuinely self-controlled. That's why, I mean, not Crow, Sky can like understand people very fast. And when he looked at Void, he could clearly and so when he looked at Void, he could clearly tell that she was more controlled than other people, you know. And that's why he tries to talk to her. He's very shy. He just threw up. He's very shy and he's like not able to walk or talk normally, you know, because he's very, very shy. He goes up to Void and then he's like, you know that like the view outside the window, like from where I came from, like there's views like that everywhere. He says that to like be like, did you know this and stuff? No. He's like, did you know this and stuff? To get her attention, and she's like, wow, that's cool. And she was like, she probably will ask him something about, has he ever had a friend, is what she asks, because she's very curious about how other people who lived their life actually doing something lived. She has never lived her life. She has never been able to do anything in her life, you know. So she's very curious about everything. She's like, have you ever had a friend? Now he kind of stops because kind of like for a second he's like, he needs to think, because you know normally conversations would go as, oh yeah, what's your name? Instead of what's your name, she goes ahead and says, have you ever had any friends? He's like, wow, that's an interesting question, you know. And then he talks about this one little fox, this fox that he kind of kept as a pet. Why was the fox not hurting him? Maybe it knew that he could understand it. But that's a very good thing, because that would mean that sometimes our delusional thoughts and stuff might be real. His delusional thought of thinking that understanding things might actually make the other things kinder to him actually worked. A fox, something that usually, you know, isn't kind to anything, decided to be his pet. And to him, that fox was a full, like, human. That fox was as human as all the other humans. You know, I mean, all of his classmates are half human and stuff, but you know what he was trying to say. He talked about that friend. He was like, I had a friend called Roxane. Roxane always cared about me, never left me, and stuff. And sometimes, you know, she would be very, very, very hungry. And I mean, in where I came from, there's just bread and um, grass, a lot of grass, bread and milk, and that's it. I mean, you know. And that milk comes from goats, because his family has goats. And Roxane at some point decided to eat one of the goats. And, you know, Roxane was his friend, but he could also feel how the goat could feel. So that kind of left him with a very weird feeling. Because he could feel, when we say he could feel other things, that also means that he can feel when other things are dying. Can you imagine being able to feel something dying? That would mean that you're basically dying with everything that dies in front of you. Can you imagine? And when Roxane did that, um, he was like, should I stop petting him? Should I abandon him? But then he empathized with Roxane, but then he empathized with the goat too. And that was the first ever time where he got so confused because of the way he cares about others. Because of how much he cares about others, he gets into these very confusing situations, and he just gets stressed, and stuff. And when he explained that story to Void, Void was like super confused. I would think that Void, like, she always thought about friendship as like, I mean, she knew what friendship was because she breathed in all that air. And as I told you, air comes from all the other countries, and then only then it reaches blueberry forest. And so when Void breathed the air, she knew how friends felt, and she also understood that what Sky was explaining was also friendship. It was very weird, you know? She was like, wow, you must be really understanding because a lot of people don't even feel the humanity in animals and stuff. But you do. So you must be really like, um, you must be really into understanding. And Shadow liked Sky liked the idea of calling it understanding. It feels less harsh. And then, Sky asked her to talk about her life. And then she thinks a little bit. She was like, well, I came from the void. She didn't tell him his name because he didn't ask her his name. But before asking her name, he asks her to tell him about her life, right? And she says, well, I came from the void. And because she says that, he's like, well, okay, then I'll call you Void, since that's something that you seem to really associate yourself with, then I'll call you Void. And so we have Sky and Void, who are kind of becoming good friends. It's because Sky is really understanding, and Sky needed someone that had like had a confident personality. They were confident in themselves.